Welcome. You've just stepped into the biggest lie ever told. The Great Indian Girlfriend Game. You're about to see what happens when a black London dancer tries to fake her way through an Indian arranged marriage. But first, if you're new here, say hello and tell us what city you're watching from. Let's get this romantic comedy rolling. The heat was not a heat you breathed. It was a physical weight that pressed itself against Amara's lungs. It was an oven set to tropical disaster. Amara, 24, stunning, clad in a neon green mesh top and tailored shorts that were distinctly not designed for Mumbai, was locked in a fierce public battle. The air around her vibrated with the blaring, relentless symphony of rickshaw horns, 1,000 simultaneous conversations in Hindi and Marathi, and the sharp, clashing aromas of cumin, cardamom, and thick diesel fumes. She loved the chaos, but right now the chaos was winning. "Look, Uncle G," Amara declared, jabbing a finger toward a silk scarf draped over a stall, her voice cutting through the noise with a crisp London edge. "I'm a London African girl. I know a markup when I see one. You said 500 rupees. I said 150. We meet at 200. No more of this dramatic fainting, please." The stall owner, who had indeed just executed a dramatic hand-to-forehead gesture, threw his hands up in defeat, muttering about the audacity of foreign girls. Amara snatched the scarf, tucking it into her neon backpack, feeling the flush of victory. She was on a self-discovery trip, and so far, she had mostly discovered she was excellent at haggling but terrible at finding clean water. A few feet away, pressed against the cool marble of an ornate temple wall, Rohan, 26, stiff, wearing a suit that looked impossibly clean and unsweated in, was losing his own, far more significant battle. "Papa, please listen," he whispered frantically into his phone, his tone a tight wire of desperation and deference. "I am handling it. Have a potential match. She's very good. Extremely suitable. I need until the end of the week. 5 days, Papa. That is all. Please. The shoddy wedding cannot be arranged yet." His father's booming voice, even distorted by the phone, was a drill sergeant's command. The deadline was firm, Sunday. Rohan had until Sunday to produce a girlfriend who met the family's exacting standards, or his fate, and a lifetime of forced stability, was sealed with a powerful family's daughter. Rohan sank his head against the marble. He needed a miracle. He needed a distraction. He looked up and saw Amara, victorious and loud, twirling the silk scarf like a triumphant weapon. She was a hurricane of color and noise, utterly unsuitable, completely magnetic, and commanding attention from 50 feet away. Rohan's mind snapped. He didn't need a suitable girl to marry. He needed a girl so unsuitable, so spectacularly wrong, that his father would be forced to postpone the arranged match just to recover from the shock. He needed a beautiful, temporary disaster. He smoothed his tie and walked toward her. "Excuse me, madam," Rohan said, his voice a polished, polite Indian English, struggling to be heard over a nearby street vendor aggressively selling mangoes. "I am so sorry to interrupt, but I have a rather unorthodox proposition for you." Amara turned, sizing him up instantly. Rich, terrified, and uptight. She suppressed a smile. "Unorthodox. Interesting word choice. Are you a travel agent? Or are you just here to compliment my excellent haggling skills?" Rohan winced, ignoring the comment. He lowered his voice. "I need a girlfriend. For 1 week. A fake one." Amara blinked, her eyes widening in dramatic disbelief. "Hold on. You look like you sell real estate to CEOs. Are you telling me you need to pay a beautiful woman to pretend to like you? That's low, mate, even for London." "It is not about liking me," Rohan stammered. He pulled Amara into a nearby, slightly quieter doorway, speaking in urgent, clipped tones. "It is about my family. They are traditional. I have 5 days before my father forces me into an arranged engagement. I need a temporary fiancé who is so clearly wrong for me that it will break the agreement and buy me time." He pulled out his wallet, revealing a horrifying stack of high-denomination notes. 100,000 rupees. 1 week. You are well-spoken, you are vibrant. You just need to pretend to be a very conservative, cultured, and traditional fiancé. Can you act? Amara stared at the money, then at him. Her eyes crinkled in amusement. 100K to wear a pretty dress and not swear. Yeah mate, I can act. What's the catch? The catch is the rules, Rohan said, pulling a crisp pre-printed list from his inner jacket pocket. Rule 1, no loud music. Rule 2, no revealing clothes, they will all be provided. Rule 3, no social media activity within 200 meters of the property. And absolutely no telling the truth. You are to be Priya Sharma, a devout, quiet girl from a very respectable family. Amara crossed her arms, nodding slowly. Okay, my rules. Rule 1. Full access to the air conditioning. This humidity is making my edges retreat. Rule 2. My own room. Snore. Rule 3. A decent supply of plantain chips. And one more thing, Rohan, she said, reading his name from the corner of the contract. I'm not wearing anything that smells like your nan's mothballs. Rohan took a deep, shaky breath. Agreed. The absurd contract was signed on the back of his father's wedding invitation. He then tried to teach her a simple Hindi greeting. Namaste. Amara tried, but it came out sounding like Namaste. Rohan buried his face in his hands. We are going to die. Back in her cramped hostel room, Amara was hyper-focused. She had a role to play, and she took her craft seriously. Ignoring Rohan's complex cultural briefing, she went straight to the source of all knowledge. Terrible 1990s and early 2000s Bollywood movies on her laptop. Priya Sharma, she thought, watching an actress weep dramatically over a single wilting rose. Priya is tragic, she's melodramatic, and she has excellent eyebrow control. She practiced the cinematic weeping, her lips trembling with exaggerated sorrow, and then tried to perfect the classic Bollywood head wobble, turning the graceful, subtle movement into a violent, unsettling spasm. This was the foundation of her character. Suddenly, a massive box arrived via a nervous-looking delivery driver. It was Rohan's attempt at a respectable wardrobe. Amara ripped open the box, revealing a sea of thick, embroidered silk, velvet, and heavy cotton. She pulled out her first outfit, a conservative, heavily worked lehenga and choli. The texture of the raw silk was magnificent, but the weight was startling. It felt less like clothing and more like soft armor. She struggled for 10 minutes, finally managing to wriggle into the outfit, then stood before the tiny mirror. The result was an elegant, culturally correct disaster. The top was too modest, but the lehenga emphasized her curves in a way that felt entirely too aggressive for respectable. She tried to drape the dupatta, scarf, demurely, but it kept slipping, and she swore under her breath, a flurry of London slang echoing in the small, sacred space of her dressing room. Priya Sharma, she told her reflection, striking a ludicrous, overly modest pose copied from the screen. You are a disgrace to your homeland. But you are going to get me paid. Rohan's panicked call came just as Amara successfully managed to pin the dupatta in place with 3 safety pins and a prayer. Amara, they are on their way. Rohan hissed. My father is sending the car. It's too late to back out. Remember, quiet, devout, respectable. And you met me at a very boring, respectable book club. Amara was checking her reflection one last time, satisfied with her ridiculously demure expression. Relax, Rohan. I've got this. I've spent 2 hours with the best of Bollywood. I am tragic, I am pure, and I am wearing enough gold thread to choke a horse. I am ready to meet your very boring father. No, Amara, you don't understand. Rohan's voice was strained, terrified. My family controls the entire region's wedding and entertainment business. The stakes are monumental, Amara. Do not mess this up. I mean it. Amara frowned, a slight crack in her demure facade. Wedding and entertainment. That wasn't just wealthy. That was powerful. That explained the panic. The sound of an approaching engine, low, powerful, and utterly unmistakable, cut off the call. A moment later, the deep, distinct, Terrifyingly expensive horn of a Rolls-Royce Phantom blasted through the thin hostel window. Amara's eyes went wide. She smoothed her silk skirt, took one last melodramatic, tragic breath, and prepared to play the role of her life. The Rolls-Royce delivers Amara to a sprawling, ornate family mansion. Not just a house but an institution. The smell of fresh jasmine garlands and rich ghee is overwhelming. The opulence is jaw-dropping, confirming Rohan's immense wealth. Amara manages a perfect demure Bollywood posture as she steps out, but immediately trips on her sari and has to be caught by Rohan. Rohan's father, Mr. Singh, is a stern, imposing man who assesses Amara with the cold eye of a business mogul. Rohan's mother is warm but traditional. Amara performs her tragic meek Priya Sharma act, whispering greetings and nodding excessively. It's funny because it's so clearly wrong. Introduce Auntie Preeti, Rohan's sharp-witted cousin or aunt. She is instantly suspicious. While everyone else is fooled by Amara's appearance, Preeti focuses on Amara's eyes, her body language, and the fact she can't stop shifting in her unfamiliar clothes. Preeti makes a pointed comment about Amara's beautiful, yet surprisingly London-centric accent. The family gathers for a grand dinner. The table is laden with aromatic dishes, a complete sensory overload of spice, color and texture. Amara, desperate to maintain her demure act, struggles. She doesn't know which hand to use, how to eat the messy, saucy food gracefully, or how to signal she's finished. Amara, relying on her outdated Bollywood knowledge, thinks she must eat very little to appear dainty. Instead, when Auntie Preeti offers her a specific, extremely spicy dish, she accepts it and tries to hide her mounting pain. Her eyes water, her nose runs, and she can't stop her face from twitching, but she maintains her quiet, Priya persona until Rohan has to invent a cover story about her severe dust allergy. An important topic comes up. Amara tries to contribute, but her research leads her to make a culturally inappropriate or hilariously outdated comment. Rohan has to jump in with a massive, improvised correction, making the situation even more awkward. After the disastrous dinner, Amara confronts Rohan in a discreet hallway. The argument is funny. She critiques his terrible cover stories. He critiques her terrible acting. But it cuts deeper. Amara criticizes the family pressure, touching on a nerve. Rohan snaps back, but then his anger fades into exhaustion. He confides in her, reluctantly, that the pressure isn't just about marriage, it's about his life. He secretly wants to be a professional contemporary fusion dancer, a dream his business-minded father would see as an embarrassment. He accidentally leaves a small, plain notebook on a table. Amara picks it up. Inside, it's not a business ledger, but meticulous, complex choreography notes and sketches for a dance piece, filled with raw, emotional annotations. She immediately understands his burden and feels a genuine connection with his secret artistic passion. Just as Amara is looking at the notebook, she sees a family driver trying to discreetly wash a large stain off a jacket worn by one of the footmen. The jacket is monogrammed with the company logo, which is suddenly familiar from a massive billboard outside the city limits. Amara realizes the scale of the wedding and entertainment empire is beyond imagination. She's not just dating a rich guy. She's in a dangerous game with a dynasty. The suspicious Auntie Preeti announces an impromptu cultural bonding exercise, a traditional dance practice for the upcoming Sangeet. This is her trap. Amara, terrified, tries to fake a sprained ankle. Amara is forced to participate. She attempts the graceful, intricate steps, but her body is trained for the sharp, low-to-the-ground movements of London Afrobeat and hip-hop. She is a hilarious mess of flailing limbs and misplaced swagger. To save his family's honor, and Amara from complete humiliation, Rohan is forced to step in. He places his hands on her waist and shoulders, attempting to guide her through a difficult sequence. The forced physical contact is intensely awkward and funny. Amara is suddenly aware of Rohan's clean, spicy cologne, the heat of his hands, and the surprising strength in his frame, shattering the image of the uptight business heir. Auntie Preeti, though suspicious, is momentarily silenced by the unexpected, intense chemistry of their bodies moving together. Rohan's father, watching from the doorway, looks thoughtful. The Priya persona is finally melting away, and something real is starting to emerge, which is exactly what Rohan didn't want. The massive Singh mansion, so loud and hectic by day, fell into a deceptive hush after midnight. Amara, unable to sleep, found herself wandering the sprawling back gardens. The air here was cool and heavy with the scent of blooming jasmine and damp earth, a welcome break from the overwhelming scent of spice and perfume inside. She found Rohan there too, sitting alone by a silent marble fountain. "Can't sleep?" Amara asked, her London voice now softened by exhaustion. Rohan looked up, his shoulders tense. "Too much shanti peace after the day's chaos. It feels unnatural." He gestured to the notebook lying open beside him. It was his choreography journal. Amara sat beside him, the cold marble seeping through her borrowed cotton tunic. She had spent the last 2 days secretly studying his sketches, the elegant lines of his classical Indian dance training blending with sharp, powerful modern stances. It was beautiful. "It's not bad, you know," she admitted, running a finger over a complex sequence of turns. "This bit, though, needs more punch. Less float, more grounding. Like the gem drum beat. You're floating when you should be hitting." Rohan stared at her, genuinely surprised. "How do you?" "I dance. Not this. But I know rhythm. And this," she tapped the page. "This isn't just steps. Sangri. It's trying to break out of something." He smiled, a small, genuine, and exhausted smile she hadn't seen before. He confessed his whole life felt like he was constantly dancing to someone else's music. Amara countered with her own story. The pressure to be a commercial success in London, the constant fight to be seen as an artist, not just a commodity. They were having their first honest conversation. Two people connecting over a shared, stifled artistic passion. In the silence that followed, the air was thick with something new. Rohan turned, reaching out to brush a stray curl of Amara's hair from her face. His hand lingered. The faint, clean scent of his spicy cologne washed over her as he leaned closer. It wasn't the staged intimacy of the dance test. It was raw, quiet, and absolutely real. The gap between them narrowed, the lie forgotten. Just as their lips were about to meet, a loud, distant sneeze from the shadowy hedges nearby, Auntie Preeti perhaps spying, snapped them apart. They both jumped up, hearts racing, scrambling back to their separate, respectable facades. "Beta," the auntie purred sweetly. "Be a dear. Rohan has misplaced a very important ledger in his private study. Would you be so kind as to organize the papers? A proper fiancée should know her future husband's affairs, no." It was clearly a trap, but Amara had to go. Rohan's study was a large, beautifully dark wood-paneled room. It smelled of old leather and wealth. Amara began to tidy the desk, searching for the ledger and simultaneously scanning for the final engagement papers she needed to see. Instead of a ledger, she found a stack of official, sealed wedding invitations. They weren't Rohan's parents' invitations. They were his. She gingerly cracked the seal on a plain card tucked inside, and her world tilted. The date was starkly printed in gold calligraphy. Saturday night. The Sangeet. Rohan hadn't been trying to postpone the engagement. He'd hired her as a convenient, disposable decoy to distract his father for 1 week while the actual wedding plans were secretly finalized. Amara felt the rush of cold, bitter clarity. She hadn't just been an actress. She'd been a human time buyer. The lie wasn't just about his parents. It was about her. Then she heard voices from the hallway. Rohan's father and his future father-in-law, speaking in low tones. "The merger is set," Mr. Singh said, his voice hard. "The girl is coming with a massive dowry and a 40% stake in the Hyderabad venue. Rohan's little drama bought us time to finalize the contracts. He will comply." The wedding and entertainment empire wasn't just a business. It was a dynasty. Amara felt the weight of the silk around her and the gold in her ears. The disguise was a mockery. She realized her little charade was risking a multi-million-dollar deal and the future of an entire business. She snatched the invitation and slipped out of the room, her heart hammering a frantic African rhythm against her ribs. Amara found Rohan in the dusty, quiet storeroom he used as his secret rehearsal space. He was mid-pirouette, his body graceful, strong, and utterly consumed by the music in his headphones. The dance was ferocious. She ripped off the headphones. "You used me. You absolute coward." She threw the invitation at him. It fluttered to the ground, the gold script shining like a sign of betrayal. Rohan froze, the music and the lie crashing to a halt. He looked instantly defeated. "Amara, please. It wasn't meant to be like this." "Like what, Rohan? Did you think I'd just fly back to London and say, 'Cheers for the cash, hope your forced marriage is fun'?" She backed him against a stack of forgotten trunks, her voice trembling with genuine hurt. "I wasn't a distraction, Rohan. I was a human time buyer. You weren't trying to save yourself. You were just trying to delay the executioner." Tears of frustration welled in her eyes. "And the worst part, I actually started to like you. I started to see the real guy hiding in here, the one who actually knows how to dance." Rohan collapsed onto a trunk, burying his face in his hands. The sharp crease of his pants, the perfectly styled hair, all the signs of the air, meant nothing now. He was just a boy cracking under the pressure. "I was a fool, Amara. I know," he whispered, his voice cracking. "I was terrified. I saw you, loud and fearless, and I thought if I created enough chaos, my father would give me another year. But he only saw a deadline. I didn't care about the girl. I only cared about getting away." He pulled out his phone, his hands shaking, and showed her a video. A vibrant, powerful performance by a famous contemporary fusion dance troupe. "This is my truth. This is all I care about. My father thinks dance is for films and weddings. I want to audition for them. I want to leave. But I'm a coward. I'm tied to this empire." Amara looked at the video, then at his defeated posture. The betrayal was still real, but so was his agonizing suppression. She saw her own fear of artistic failure reflected in his desperate plea for escape. The anger cooled, replaced by a fierce, protective determination. Amara looked at the invitation on the floor, then at the defeated heir. She bent down, picked up the invitation, and slowly, deliberately, ripped it in half. "The lie is over, Rohan," she stated, her voice calm and absolute. "Now we fight. You can't just delay the execution. You have to run away. We use the lie, the scandal, the absolute, undeniable unsuitability of me to destroy the engagement and set you free." Rohan's head snapped up. "What? You mean, publicly? In front of everyone? Saturday night. The Sangeet," Amara confirmed. "It's the grandest party of your family's entire empire. We make such a beautiful, catastrophic scene that they have to call off the engagement. You get your freedom. I get my money, and the satisfaction of knowing I helped a fellow artist." They spent the next hour hashing out a reckless, impossible plan. Rohan was terrified but electrified by her audacity. Their hands met over the tattered invitation. A new, honest alliance formed, sealed not with a kiss, but with a promise to cause maximum chaos. As the sun set, the mansion was bathed in a brilliant, almost blinding light as thousands of tiny fairy lights were strung around the courtyard. The rhythmic beat of Sangeet drummers practicing their complex patterns drifted in the distance. The atmosphere was one of intoxicating, overwhelming celebration. Amara looked out at the glittering scene. It was the most beautiful, terrifying stage she had ever seen. "Let's go crash a wedding empire," she whispered. The Sangeet courtyard was an unparalleled spectacle of wealth. Hundreds of guests shimmered in silk and gold under a sky canopy of velvet and twinkling lights. The air pulsed with the vibrant energy of pre-wedding celebration, thick with the scent of expensive perfume, floral garlands, and sizzling street food. Amara, dressed in a magnificent heavy lehenga that ironically made her look like the perfect bride, felt a cold knot of terror mixed with adrenaline. She looked every inch the respectable Priya, but beneath the silk, she was a bomb waiting to detonate. Rohan, looking equally impeccable, caught her eye from across the lawn. He was pale but determined. This was his last chance. The suspicious Auntie Preeti was everywhere, her eyes tracking Amara like a hawk. Preeti had secured her proof, a blurry photo of Amara and Rohan's intense late-night conversation, which she planned to display during the main performance. The moment arrived. Rohan's father took the stage to make a dramatic pre-engagement announcement. As the crowd quieted, Amara and Rohan shared one final silent look, a pact. Chaos, maximum chaos. Just as Mr. Singh began his speech about two suitable families uniting, Auntie Preeti seized the opportunity. She intercepted a technician and flashed the blurry photo of Amara and Rohan in their late-night meeting onto the massive LED screen behind the stage mid-speech. The music stopped. A collective, horrified gasp swept through the crowd. Mr. Singh froze, his face turning a dangerous shade of red. He recognized the intimacy and the location, the clandestine storeroom. He pointed a shaking finger at Amara. "Who is this? What is the meaning of this scandal?" he roared. His voice amplified across the courtyard. "This is not Priya Sharma." Amara stepped forward, shedding the timid Priya persona like an unwanted skin. Her voice, clear and strong, cut through the shock. "You're right, Mr. Singh," Amara declared, walking onto the stage. "My name is Amara. I'm from London. And I'm not a suitable bride. I'm a paid actress." A tide of shocked murmurs rippled through the guests. The potential in-laws looked mortified. Amara continued, not with venom, but with devastating comedic honesty. She recounted the absurd rules, her terrible Bollywood research, and the true reason Rohan hired her: to buy a week of freedom before his forced engagement. To prove her point, she performed a hilarious, exaggerated, and entirely inappropriate dramatic weeping pose she'd learned from her 90s research, then instantly switched back to her sharp, witty London persona. See. Terrible. Not suitable. Not even a little. Mr. Singh was apoplectic. He turned on Rohan. "You will apologize to the family, fire this woman, and the engagement proceeds immediately. You are an heir, not an artist." Rohan, however, was done being the coward. He stood next to Amara, holding her steady. "No, Papa. I won't." Amara looked at Rohan, then back at the bewildered crowd. She saw the despair in Rohan's eyes and knew words wouldn't work. Only the truth of his passion could save him. The music tech, an unwitting ally, fumbled with the soundboard, and a low, resonant Afrobeat rhythm accidentally began to throb through the speakers, a track Amara had secretly downloaded. Amara looked at Rohan. "Show them," she commanded, not asking but challenging. "Show them the truth you were hiding." She launched into motion. She performed a solo, not the traditional steps, but a powerful, raw fusion dance. Her African hip-hop and Afrobeat movements were sharp, fierce, and utterly electric, telling the story of constraint, frustration, and the desire for freedom. The dance was a physical declaration of war on the dynasty. She then moved, beckoning Rohan. Rohan hesitated for only a second, then his formal exterior shattered. He leaped into the routine, seamlessly blending his graceful, intricate classical Indian training with the grounded, explosive energy of her modern beat. It was a beautiful, imperfect, and intensely personal duet. The speed, the synchronized movement, the visible sweat, and the sheer passion of their unscripted performance were overwhelming. The crowd, initially poised to riot, was stunned into silence. Mr. Singh was mesmerized. He saw his son not as a defiant heir, but as an artist, a brilliant, powerful one. The dance ended with a final breathless pose. Amara and Rohan pressed close, their eyes locked, the raw honesty of their performance hanging in the electrified air. The silence broke, not with a roar of anger, but with a tidal wave of applause. The in-laws, utterly humiliated by the public spectacle, immediately and definitively called off the engagement. The business partnership was ruined, but Rohan was free. Mr. Singh, defeated but strangely moved, could only nod slowly, a realization dawning. His son would never be the man he wanted, but he was undeniably brilliant. Rohan looked at Amara, not as a hired actress, but as the woman who had saved his soul. He brushed his thumb against her cheek, a motion of genuine love, not forced proximity. "You are absolutely, perfectly, unsuitably mine," he murmured. And right there, on the stage of the collapsing wedding empire, to the applause of hundreds of stunned guests, he leaned in and gave her the honest, passionate kiss they had been waiting for all week. The lie was over. The comedy was complete. The romance had just begun. The roar of the rickshaw engine was the sweetest sound Rohan had ever heard. As they sped away from the glittering, furious mansion, the stiff, wealthy air was finally gone. Amara, her heavy lehenga hiked up to her knees, leaned into him. The high-stakes adrenaline was draining away, replaced by the giddy joy of rebellion. "So," she shouted over the wind, laughing so hard her shoulders shook, "we just destroyed a multi-million-dollar empire. Are we officially dating now? Or do you have one more secret fiancé hidden in the boot?" Rohan roared with laughter, a sound of pure, unburdened relief she'd never heard from him before. "We are dating, Amara. And I owe you a lot of money." "Keep the money," she shouted back. "Just buy me a life-size statue of a Bollywood villain. And never try to stop me from dancing." Over the next 2 weeks, Amara stayed in Mumbai. They moved into a small, vibrant apartment near the dance studios where Rohan was secretly applying. The initial thrill of their scandal-fueled romance quickly gave way to a hilarious adjustment period. Their tiny apartment became a battlefield of senses. Amara's Afrobeat music and the rich, earthy scent of shea butter battled Rohan's constant, quiet sandalwood incense and traditional Indian spices. They argued over which type of music was study music, and which was noise. Every argument became a funny, desperate compromise, a negotiation that cemented their relationship more strongly than any lie. They quickly realized their unique, messy dance fusion was an accurate metaphor for their relationship. Beautiful, chaotic, and constantly surprising. Rohan's secret ambition paid off. His audition was successful. He was accepted into a prestigious international contemporary fusion troupe, which required them to move to London. This instantly flipped the power dynamic. In London, Amara thrived, performing and teaching Afrobeat dance, but Rohan, free from his father's wealth for the first time, faced a new kind of struggle: reverse culture shock. He was a wealthy heir who knew nothing of paying rent, understanding utility bills, or, most hilariously, navigating the London underground. Amara found herself teaching Rohan how to use the washing machine, how to properly queue up at the bus stop, and how to deal with the British Reserve. He kept trying to haggle for his morning coffee. The comedy flipped entirely. Now Rohan was the one having hilarious cultural missteps, constantly using polite Indian English formalities that baffled the locals. Despite the initial struggle, Rohan was happier than ever, dedicating himself fully to dance. Amara watched him transform from a stiff heir into a confident artist, and she fell deeper in love with the vulnerable man who had finally found his freedom. Amara then took Rohan home to meet her own London African family, a loud, warm, and highly expressive group full of laughter and very direct questions. Rohan, having survived the cold judgment of Mr. Singh, was prepared for stern, traditional scrutiny. Instead, he was overwhelmed by joyful, boisterous interrogation. He won them over completely by joining in on a family dance-off, performing an improvised fusion of classical Indian and African moves that left everyone cheering, proving he was worthy of their daughter's fire. One evening, a year later, after Amara and Rohan debuted a breathtaking, passionate duet based on their chaotic first week in India, they returned to their small, messy London apartment. They were arguing over whose turn it was to do the dishes. A familiar, comfortable chaos. Rohan simply stopped the argument, took Amara's hand, which was currently covered in soapsuds, and looked at her. "Amara, my life was a script written by my father," he said, his voice soft and honest. "You came in, tore it up, and taught me how to improvise. My chaos is your chaos. My rhythm is your rhythm. Marry me, and let's make a new script, filled with noise and spices and completely terrible, wonderful compromises. Amara laughed, pulled his face close, and kissed him deeply, tasting the spice of the curry they'd just eaten. Only if your dad pays for the wedding. We ruined his Sangeet. He owes us a party. The wedding was a spectacular, beautiful middle finger to tradition. It was held in London, blending the opulence of Bollywood with the vibrancy of Afrobeats. Amara walked down the aisle in an original creation, a classic Indian lehenga silhouette tailored from stunning, colorful African print fabric, symbolizing their union. The music was a joyful, chaotic medley of Nigerian pop, Punjabi MC, and classic Bollywood romance. Mr. Singh and Amara's parents sat side by side, sharing a strained but ultimately respectful peace. The celebration peaked with the final, mandatory dance. Rohan and Amara pulled the entire crowd onto the floor, leading them in a massive, glorious fusion dance that was part hip-hop, part Bhangra, and all heart. Watching them, Mr. Singh, defeated but strangely content, finally allowed a small, genuine smile to crack his stern face. His son may have destroyed the dynasty, but he had found something real. A loud, unapologetic love that was truly magnificent. The lie was over. The comedy was complete. The perfectly chaotic romance had just begun.